We're just expecting a presser from the Supreme Court, and we expect to listen to from the judges on an important issue.
We request all of you to maintain.
This is almost a sort of an unprecedented presser that's been called in by the top judges of India's apex court. It's almost unheard of for the Supreme Court judges to in fact call in the media for a press conference of this nature. So four chief justices, four judges of the Supreme Court will be addressing the media very shortly. It remains to be heard as to what exactly they've got to say. It's almost unheard of for the judges, the sitting judges of the Supreme Court to in fact come and speak in this manner. Let's dip in and listen to what is being said.
Please, we thank each one of you for being here on a very short notice. We thank each one of you. My dear friends, all of you know this is an extraordinary event.
Sir, please little louder.
It's an extraordinary event in the history of any nation, and more particularly this nation, and extraordinary event in the history of this institution of judiciary. It is with no pleasure in our hearts we were compelled to take this decision to call for a press conference. But sometime the administration of the Supreme Court is not in order. There are many things which are less than desirable which have happened in the last few months. Time and again, as senior members of the court, and goes without saying that we are the senior most judges of the country also by virtue of age and our office today, senior judges, we thought we owed a responsibility to the institution, to the nation. We tried to collectively persuade the Chief Justice that certain things are not in order, therefore he should take remedial measures. Unfortunately, our efforts failed. And my dear friends, we are all, four of us are convinced that unless this institution is preserved and it maintains its equanimity, the democracy will not survive in this country or any country. For the survival of a democracy, it is said, the hallmark of a good democracy is an independent and impartial judge. The judge is symbolic here, is the institution. Judge, the statement, but judge in the context means the judiciary. Now, well, anyway, a lot of things have been published in the press, pro, contrary, whatever it is. We are not entering a regular, it's not a political meeting where we go into all this controversy. But since all of our efforts failed, even this morning on a particular issue, four of us went and met the Honorable Chief Justice of India with a specific request, which we could not unfortunately convince him that we were right and the appropriate decision is to be taken. We couldn't convince him. Therefore, we were left with no choice except to communicate it to the nation that please take care of the institution and take care of the nation, because we have heard a lot of wise men talking in this country earlier. I don't want another 20 years later some very wise men in this country blame that Chelameswar, Ranjan, Gogoi, Madan, Lokur and Kurian Joseph sold their souls. They didn't take care of this institution. They didn't take care of the interests of this nation. We don't want it to be set. So we place it before the people of this country. That's all, gentlemen, we wanted to inform you.
Sir, what are the instances?
Sir, what is the issue? What kind of issue?
So what can be done to preserve the integrity
It's a press conference.
We call it press conference. Please.
We are interested in the incident.
No.
Talk to you separately. It's a press conference.
So what are the issues?
What
happened this morning, sir?
See,
Can you give some instances?
You say wrong.
I will tell you something. About a couple of months back, exact date and all we'll give, four of us gave a signed letter to the Chief Justice of India. We'll give copies of that letter. You can call out from the letter what exactly happened. And we wanted a particular thing to be done in a particular manner. A thing was done in a particular thing was done, but in such a way that it left too many questions. It raised further questions and further doubts about the integrity of the institution. That's what we believe. And many more things happened. So, and this morning also we had to go on something like this.
Sir, just some recommendation.
In a few minutes, don't overhear us.
No, sir, we're not over here. We're very busy typing.
What happened this morning, sir?
Sorry.
What happened this morning, sir?
We four of us went, made a request.
Sir, could you please be a little louder?
Four of us went, met the Chief Justice of India, made a request that a particular thing is not in order, therefore it should be rectified. In spite of four colleagues, senior-most colleagues of the country, of the Chief Justice and senior-most judges of this country requested, the Honorable Chief Justice thought that we are not
Is it Justice Lawyer's case?
What was that issue, sir?
What is that issue, sir? We went with?
Why are you forced to maintain secrecy
Is
even
it
now?
Justice Lawyer's case?
Why the secrecy even now? Why don't you speak out? What is it?
No, but the reason is this. See, everybody knows everything. I'll tell you something. See, look here, we are not running politics here. And then, somebody making a statement, somebody contradicting it tomorrow.
But then it leaves a lot of things to speculation. And it's just
Do we have to repeat those issues again?
Sir, but today morning, is there any specific issue?
It is an issue of assignment of a case, which is an issue raised in that letter.
So was the issue today in the court? This is about lawyers thing?
Is it about
Justice
lawyers?
Yes. Sir, may I ask you a question, please?
Yes, no, Justice Lawyer.
Not only about it.
Sir, according to you, what are the remedies now? Do you want the Chief Justice to be impeached?
Remedies? Sir, we are not saying anything. Let the nation decide. We are nobody's to decide it.
Sir, may I ask you a question, please? Do you believe that there is interference by the executive? It's a critical question for the institution. If the institution has to survive, then we need no interference from the executive. Is there any interference? Please let us know if there is any interference from the executive with the judiciary. I need an answer to this question, sir.
Yes.
You don't need answers. I do.
I think
Guys, relax, stop.
I think whatever Justice Chelameswar has told you is the whole of it. It's a discharge of a debt to the nation that has brought us here, and we think that we have discharged a debt to the nation by telling you what is what. More is there in the letter. Beyond this, I don't think there is any other issue we need to address.
How is the cause taken forward? That's the question.
Sir, one small thing.
Where is the letter?
I'll just get it in a minute.
Just
Can you, sir? Varma?
So, there is a small practical problem, sir. Sir, there is a small practical problem. Right now, nation is watching you. And if the Xerox and everything, photocopying takes time, it would be further speculation. So you have said one of the issue was Judge Loya's death. If you could spell out other issues. Manish, I'm asking a question, don't interfere.
One copy is good enough.
Yeah. Varma?
Unable to find. Oh, it's in my car.
It's brother's car.
It's in my car.
That would be better, sir. One coffee.
Just give me 1 minute. We are getting that. Just give us 1 minute.
Sir, one question. That 4 judges, senior most judges of the Supreme Court coming together, organizing a press conference, it is seen as 4 judges breaking the ranks. Do you think that from here on, the administration of the Supreme Court would go on in a routine and in a harmonious manner?
Yeah, why? Nobody's breaking ranks. Nobody's breaking ranks. Nobody.
Sir, what do you think is the remedy now?
Sir, and are you speaking for the rest of the court as well? 4 of you here.
We are speaking for ourselves. We are not consulted. Since we are in the senior most 4, we discussed. Since we 4 went in the morning, We are speaking for ourselves. We didn't discuss it with anybody else.
Sir, is this a kind of no confidence against the Chief Justice?
Sir, don't put words into our
I'm just asking, since two people have come out and...
Sir, what are the issues you are seeking redressal for, sir?
Okay, we'll make copies in 2 minutes. Ma'am. Just 2 minutes we can make it. I'll just read one or two.
Just say this is the letter. You will get copies. Give me that this Now, my dear friends, we have one copy of the letter. We need to take copies of it. Just wait for 10 minutes. We'll give copies to.
Could you read out pictures?
Just give us 10 minutes. You'll get
copies here.
In the meantime, could you read out a few points from the letter?
Copies have to be made in the meantime. How will we start it?
You make copies and I send it for the this you give it. This is the only.
Just be careful.
I think that's about it.
So
Now.
Issues. What will you do now, sir? What is the next step? What is the next step?
What is the next step? Tomorrow is Saturday, and day after tomorrow is Sunday. Monday we'll go to the court and decide cases.
Sir, is this about the composition of the constitution benches also?
Sorry?
Is it about the composition of the constitution benches also? Senior judges are not included. That is one of the grievances.
You read the letter, you'll get answers to all these questions.
So just a two-part question. Can we construe this one as a sign of protest, and two, now what is expected of the chief?
Well, that's what we failed.
It is not. You may construe it as a sign of our responsibility to the nation and nothing more. I think we have answered all, and we have made ourselves very clear. There is nothing further to say.
The president also.
Well, of course, we'll go. Why not?
Thank you very much, sir, and Happy New Year, sir.
By the 4 sitting Supreme Court judges of India, Justice Kurian Joseph, Justice Chelameswar, Justice Ranjan, Gogoi and Justice Madan, Lokur. They're coming forth in what has perhaps never been seen in the 70 years of Indian democracy, where 4 sitting Supreme Court judges coming forth and saying that not everything is in order with the judiciary. They've said we wanted the assignment of a certain case to be done in a certain manner. That has not happened. For the last 4 months, we have been talking with the Chief Justice of India, and what needs to be done has not been said. Now, they have said that they have released a letter. We are awaiting the contents of that letter to actually make it very clear as to what exactly is the grievance with which these 4 judges have come forth. They say that they have a responsibility for the nation, something that has never been perhaps seen in Indian democracy, where 4 sitting justices of the Supreme Court, they're coming forth and saying that we have failed in our responsibility when they were specifically asked, is this pertaining to the case of Justice Loya's death? The justices did not say no, stating that information had to be found in the letter. Now, the contents of the letter that has just been put out by the 4 justices, we will be getting that as soon as possible. And as soon as we have it, this in many ways is unheard of and unprecedented in terms of how big a development this is in India's democracy. All right, now for more on this, we are joined in by our senior editor, Karthikeya Sharma. Karthikeya, this is unprecedented, something that we have not seen at all. 4 sitting justices of the Supreme Court. At this point of time, we still do not have the details of what exactly has been released in the form of that letter. But what is the latest on this story? What has compelled them to, in fact, come out and hold a press conference of this nature?
See, there are 3 things which are happening. One, if you look at the statement of the judges, they have made a very, very serious charge.
Right.
They have taken up a very serious issue. They are saying that they are discharging the debt to the nation.
Yes.
And one of the judges said that we don't want in future that someone would say that we sold our soul. Now, they said that they met the judge today, the Chief Justice of India today morning. They had written a letter to the Chief Justice of India, met him previously, And in a way, they have casted aspersion on the conduct of the Chief Justice of India. And the topmost judges are saying that certain decisions have been taken which have casted doubt, one. And secondly, not only it has casted doubt, but it has compromised the judiciary.
Right.
So, in a way, it has created a piquant situation. That is why journalists, they were asking this question, is it like a no confidence, when we'll have to wait and see how the Chief Justice of India will respond to it, or whether he will choose to respond or not.
Absolutely.
But for the senior judges like these to come out and talk about the conduct or the failure of the topmost judge of this country appointed by the government of India for not withholding the constitutional norms is in itself, I would say, unprecedented in annals of Indian political and judicial history. So what we today heard is unprecedented. What had happened was that the judges are not going into the detail. And we will also wait till we know the exact content of the letter. We will not speculate. We will not speculate in terms of what the judges wrote. But once we have the letter, we'll put it out. And an important thing is, before we get, an important thing is, Saleh, that it will merit a response from the topmost judge, the Chief Justice of India. Because unless and until it happens, things will become completely... It will impact the integrity of the court. What has happened is completely unprecedented. The top judges are actually questioning the functioning of the Chief Justice of India.
Absolutely, indeed.
And now I'm joined by senior lawyer Abha Singh. Madam, your first comments on this press conference.
I would say it's a historic day in the history of this country because judiciary has had an iron curtain. There is so much corruption in the judiciary and people, because of the contempt of court, are scared to say anything. So this press conference by the judges, I would say, is the biggest democratic revolution which is taking today. And I'm sure it would be good for the country, and people like us need to know what is going behind the walls of the courts, because the way there is rampant corruption, there is so much political interference. I think rightly so these judges have taken courage. I would call them the new day revolutionaries. In fact, I would call them the new Mahatma Gandhi, who's come forward, has the courage to speak out and tell the country what is ailing the judiciary.
Madam, the judges were slightly reticent about the case and the nitty-gritty of the issues. Can you please elaborate on it if you're aware of it? Because obviously you are part of that institution. Can you shed the light on that particular case?
Since I've just joined in, I don't know what case they are talking about, but if they are trying to give out facts, if they are trying to say that there is certain corruption, they are very well within their right to be the whistleblowers, and they should be protected under the Whistleblower Act, although it is not yet passed. But if it is a specific case, then one definitely needs to know the facts before we can comment on that.
But Madam, then what about the position of Chief Justice? A charge has already been made. This is unprecedented. How does the judiciary function from here on?
No, but if there are specific corruption charges against the Chief Justice of India, then we have the Chief Vigilance Commission, we have the CVC, we have the Anti-Corruption Bureau, we have the CBI. So why not? If there are specific facts these judges are saying against the Chief Justice of India, and if he is corrupt, then he must be brought to book. How can you protect them when politicians like Lalu are being put behind bars? Then why not the judges, even if he is the Chief Justice of India? Let an inquiry be ordered. We cannot have corrupt judges anymore, and why should they get protection? And if these Supreme Court judges have the courage to come out and give the facts, these facts need to be taken up by the government agencies. They need to be investigated, and I think till the time the probe goes on, Chief Justice of India must step down. It is a very haloed position, and if this Chief Justice is coming under the scanner, then he needs to step down. Otherwise it would be a shameful day for the judiciary.
Ma'am, you are saying that with the charges like these, it's untenable for the Chief Justice of India to continue. Are you saying that?
Of course, I stand by that, because if there are facts, if there are facts which can be verified by the government agencies like the CBI, then he must step down. At least he must go on leave so that these can be investigated, because you should not only be honest, but you should appear to be honest. And if it is your reputation and judiciary, Supreme Court is the temple of justice where everybody from the country comes. And if the Chief Justice is under doubt, his integrity is under doubt, he should bear the moral responsibility. We are the country of Lal Bahadur Shastri, who stepped down on just an accident. And here, when 4 Supreme Court judges are taking a press conference, the Chief Justice of India must step down. He must go on leave, because in the history of judiciary, this has never happened before. But let me tell you, we as lawyers are also dumbstruck when we get to know that so much corruption is taking place in the courts, be it High Court, be it judiciary. Builders in Mumbai get any orders they want. See the Kamla Mill case. No, they just go to the court, get a clear stayed on government proceedings. So I think if the judges have had the courage, I salute these 4 judges who are not worried about their career, who are not worried about the consequences they will face. But in the interest of country, I would say Justice Chelameswar and others have come forward. I salute their spirit, and I salute Indian democracy, which has empowered these 4 judges to finally come forward and speak out.
Ma'am, are you saying that judiciary, at the higher judiciary, had its own share of problem? It's just that for the first time, 4 senior faces have chosen to address the issue. It's not as if it didn't exist, but people did not speak about it. People did not make it public, and this is for the first time that act of making something deep malice which existed inside has become public.
Yes, it has existed. In fact, I have a sitting district judge, rank judge of Maharashtra, who came to me and said that he was considered for High Court judge of Mumbai, but his name was struck out because it is the Nagpur lobby which has become powerful in Bombay High Court, and he doesn't know how to go about. He is meritorious, but doesn't know what to do. Even we as lawyers feel embarrassed that a sitting judge comes and says that my name has been struck down because I don't belong to the Nagpur lobby. I think some Bombay High Court judges also need to do press conference and show how they become judges, how they become Supreme Court judges, and that is the reason everything is behind an iron curtain, the appointment of judges or senior counsels, how they are made. I think we need to be transparent, just like CCS conduct of government servants is in the public domain, even judicial appointments should be in the public domain.
Madam, as you very rightly pointed out, a lot of people are speculating about the Loya case. A lot of speculations are being made about it. But in this case, just for the benefit of viewers, Madam, once the charges are made like this, in terms of if the president does not exist, in terms of judicial correctness, what should be happening? And does it provide a case, in your opinion, Madam, for the executive to interfere in this case? Does it create that space?
Of course, when they are coming forward with facts, what does Prevention of Corruption Act say? That if an offence has happened, if there are facts which can be verified by investigation that illegal gratification has exchanged hands, or for some other gratification, be it not money, but for some other consideration, judgments have been given. In fact, people come and say, we will get you the judgment which you want. I mean, it is happening, but because of the sword of contempt of court, people have kept quiet, and it is good that the judges themselves have come forward, and I'm sure what they are going to tell would be the real revolution, and this would be the catharsis which the judiciary needs. Lot of lawyers, in fact, a person of Prashant Bhushan's rank who fights for human rights, you penalize him, you put a fine of 25 lakhs on Prashant Bhushan. Is this justice? Is this honesty? No. But people keep quiet because they are scared of the judiciary, the Supreme Court. You are pulling up whistleblowers. You are fining RTI activists, be it Bombay High Court, be it Supreme Court, and people keep quiet. I think now today is the red letter day when the judges have come out, and I'm hoping that some of the lawyers will also come up forward and tell where corruption is taking place, where politicians are influencing, and that is true. Judiciary is coming into the clutches of politicians, in the clutches of netas, which needs to be looked into. It is a sad day in the country of India. India that we have come to such a level that Supreme Court judges have come forward to expose the Chief Justice of India. And if Chief Justice is corrupt, he should be behind bars. Let the CBI inquiry be ordered. Let there be a CVC. Why we don't have the Lok Ayog? When the government said it is going to set up a Lok Ayog, this is the reason this government did not set up a Lok Ayog, because it knew that its own people would be behind bars.
Very rightly pointed out, ma'am, but as you are saying that the position has to be vacated, in your opinion, what are the measures which right now need to be taken? Because the issue of CJI is one. You are pointing out that he should vacate, in your opinion, the position. But what are the institutional, I would say, issues which plague the highest court of the land today?
From what I have seen, as the High District Judge who came, whose name was bypassed from the Bombay High Court's judge list, he feels that there is no transparency. The registry can destroy anybody's career by writing anything. All that this judge had to face was said that he is stern. He doesn't communicate. I mean, the registry, there is a lot of politics. So the appointment of judges, their promotion needs to be transparent. And I think that is why the Supreme Court has not agreed to make the appointment of judges to Supreme Court transparent. There is a lot of political interference. Even the public prosecutors who are appointed, the AGs and ASGs who are appointed, they all have political leanings. Why should it be that when BJP comes, it should be lawyers with BJP leanings should be made the AG or the other government functionaries? Why should it be like that? Judiciary should be apolitical. Law has no color. We should not be either green or orange or any color. The law of the land has to be impartial, and that is why I think today these 4 judges have sat. They've had the courage. And again, I say, I salute the courage of these judges, because we know how difficult it is to be a whistleblower in this country. You are boycotted, you are harassed, you are compelled to leave the government if you speak against the government. So if these people have stood up and they are ready to bear the consequences, it is necessary that the media of this country, the common man of this country, should stand by these judges. And if there are facts, again I say, if they are giving specific facts, it needs to be corroborated with investigation, and till the time the investigation goes on, all these people against whom corruption allegations are put or being influenced by politicians are levied, they must be sent on leave so that an impartial inquiry should be done. We all know how everybody is scared of the Supreme Court. Let these judges not take advantage of the power and the fear they hold.
But madam, a lot of people would say, I'm no master of law. I'm no master of law. A lot of people would say that then everyone, in whether it's the lower judiciary or the judiciary at the level of the High Court or the apex court, everyone will start questioning the top. It will just break the order, because as in democracy, probity is very important part, as you rightly mentioned. So is the order and stability.
No, but has it happened before? Never before. First time senior judges of Supreme Court have been compelled to come out means that there is too grave an offense which is happening behind the walls of the Supreme Court or the judiciary of the country, because it is very difficult for a government servant or a public servant to take a stand. But the very fact they've come out demanding probity or come out in front of the media, I think they also have a freedom of speech and expression. But they are not talking about a specific case. They are talking about a specific issue. And from what I can make out, or you can make out, that it is corruption of the senior judges. And if it is facts, nobody can stop a person from not telling facts, because the CRPC clearly says that if you get to know about an offense which is happening or has happened, it is the duty of a citizen to come and complain to the police. So rather than going to the police, they are giving it to the media. I think there is no harm. And this would be a great day in the history of judiciary, where some things would come out and it would be a cleansing. I would say it would be a cleansing of the courts.
Very rightly pointed out, madam. You stay with us, but for a benefit of the viewers who are just joining us, we would like to replay the most important part of the press conference of the 4 judges which took place earlier today.
It goes without saying that we are the senior most judges of the country also by virtue of age and our office today, senior judges. We thought we owed a responsibility to the institution to the nation, we try to collectively persuade the Chief Justice that certain things are not in order, therefore he should take remedial measures. Unfortunately, our efforts failed. And my dear friends, we are all, four of us are convinced that unless this institution is preserved and it maintains its equanimity, the democracy will not survive in this country or any country. For the survival of a democracy, it is said, the hallmark of a good democracy is an independent and impartial judge. The judge is symbolic here, is the institution. Judge, the statement, but judge in the context means the judiciary. Now, well, anyway, a lot of things have been published in the press, pro, contrary, whatever it is. We are not entering a regular, it's not a political meeting where we go into all this controversy. But since all of our efforts failed, even this morning on a particular issue, four of us went and met the Honorable the Chief Justice of India with a specific request, which we could not unfortunately convince him that we were right and the appropriate decision is to be taken. We couldn't convince him. Therefore, we were left with no choice except to communicate it to the nation that please take care of the institution and take care of the nation, because we have heard a lot of wise men talking in this country earlier. I don't want another 20 years later some very wise man in this country blame that Chelameswar, Ranjan, Gogoi, Madan, Lokur and Kurian Joseph sold their souls. They didn't take care of this institution. They didn't take care of the interests of this nation. We don't want it to be set. So we place it before the people of this country. That's all, gentlemen, we wanted to inform you.
Sir, what are the instances you said?
Sir, what can be done? So what can be done to preserve the integrity of the institution? We are interested in the institution.
No. We'll talk to you separately. It's a press.
So what are the issues?
What happened this morning, sir?
See,
can you give some instances?
You say wrong.
I will tell you something. About a couple of months back, exact date and all we'll give, four of us gave a signed letter to the Chief Justice of India. We'll give copies of that letter. You can call out from the letter what exactly happened. And we wanted a particular thing to be done in a particular manner. A thing was done in a particular but in such a way
and
that it left too many.
And right now we are joined by former Justice Mr. Mudgal. Mr. Mudgal, thank you very much. Mr. Mudgal, thank you very much for joining us on WION. So my question, I think we have lost Justice Mudgal. But we will also be getting across our, we'll be cutting across to our correspondent Jessica Taneja, and we have been told that Jessica has accessed the letter. Jessica has accessed the letter, and we will come to know as to what the charge is actually about. Because the four judges have said that they sent a letter to the Chief Justice of India, met him 2 months back, and then again met him this morning. And they refused to get into the details, but clarified that the letter will tell the whole story. So we will come to know from the letter as to what exactly the charge is. Now, if it is about corruption, it's a different case. If it is about misconduct, it's a different case. If it's about not doing things up to their expectation, it's a different case. But what has happened is, it has raised serious issues when it comes to Indian judiciary.
All right, we'll tell you. Once you look at the letter, you will know what exactly.
All right, so this is almost an unprecedented sort of a press conference that was held by the four sitting justices of the Supreme Court. And we're still joined by senior lawyer Abha Singh, who is still with us. Abha, we will be getting the contents of the letter just very shortly. But Abha Singh, do you think, this has raised some very serious questions in terms of how judiciary has been working in the last several months? It's still early to speculate, but what do you think could have pushed these judges? These are some of the senior-most judges in the country who have come out in, if I could use the word, in open rebellion in terms of how things have been happening in the country.
Exactly. I said it is definitely a revolt, but a revolt which is in the interest of the justice system of the country. You must be remembering when the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh committed suicide. His suicide note talked about the Chief Justice. His suicide note talked about the lawyers of the Supreme Court, where he was told that if you give money, we can help you out. But no inquiry was ordered at that time. I think that was the point from where people started discussing about the corruption in Supreme Court. And now when Justice Chelameswar, Justice Lokur, Justice Kurian, these are the dead honest judges of the Supreme Court. These are the 4 judges on which people, the lawyers,
right, Ms. Abha Singh, let me just interrupt you there, because I'm told that we're also joined in by senior lawyer Ujjwal Nikam, who's joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Nikam, what is your take on this? 4 of the senior most judges in the country have come out in open revolt in terms of what's been happening in the judiciary in India. Mr. Nikam, if you could hear me. Mr. Ujjwal Nikam, this question is for you. What do you make of this open revolt by 4 of the senior most judges in the country? Right, we'll try reconnect with Ujjwal Nikam there, but meanwhile, Abha Singh still continues to be with us. Ma'am, if I could come back to you on this, there are some details which are trickling in as to what exactly was there in the letter, where they've said that the independence of the High Court, perhaps they're referring to the High Court in Mumbai, has been severely dented. The justice system's functioning has been affected is another charge that's in fact been put out in the letter. And they've also said that the manner in which the judiciary and the CJIs, the Chief Justice of India's administration, is in fact being conducted has been severely impacted. We're trying to get more information as to what exactly are the contents of the letter. But when some of the senior-most judges in the country come out and say that the independence of the judiciary has been impacted, how serious a blow is this to the Indian judiciary?
In fact, what I can see from yours that they are talking about assignment of cases. That is what Justice Chelameswar is saying.
Absolutely.
That there is faulty system of assignment of cases, and rightly so, because all the sensitive cases, be it pertaining to politicians or the builders where big money is involved, they are decided by the Chief Justice. They are decided by the Chief Justice of the High Court, and that is where the positioning takes place. The favored judges are given the sensitive cases, and in fact, sources tell us that some of the orders are already known before they are signed by the judges.
Right.
In fact, I may be also tried for contempt, but this is a red letter day when these judges have come out. I would also like to say that I am also very disappointed with the way the high courts have been working in Maharashtra, because the builders run the state. Even today, the builder in Kamla Mill has not been arrested because they are running for anticipatory bail, and others, they know how to manage the judiciary, and that is what Justice Chelameswar is saying, that even the assignment of cases to particular judges is where maneuvering and manipulation takes place. And it is a very important point to be noted that how assignment is given of a particular case, the sensitivity decided. They touts in the courts who come and tell you that you give us the case and we will get you the judgment. And why CBI, why the Anti-Corruption Bureau does not tap the lines of these judges, whom they meet, what they do, but we turn a blind eye, because whatever judgments they give, they are supporting the government. And definitely this is a very serious allegation that the Chief Justice is favoring a few, and if it is a fact, it needs to be investigated. And these judges, these 4 judges, are one of the most honest judges which the Supreme Court has. And it is their willingness to support the country. You were asking Mr. Nikam, but Mr. Nikam could not come. Let me tell you, all these government leaders or judges who are these prosecutors who have been appointed by the government, they will not speak a word because it is their appointment which is at stake. Tomorrow, disciplinary action would be taken against these people also. And that is the reason that everybody keeps quiet, because they are feared of contempt. They are fearful that inquiries would be ordered against them. Any small lower judge, if he tries to open his mouth, his career is destroyed. And that is what a district judge of Maharashtra told me. He was bypassed from being, his name was there in the 14-member list of Bombay High Court judge, but his name was dropped because the Nagpur lobby came forward.
Absolutely. Ms. Abha Singh, do continue to stay on with this. Meanwhile, we're also joined in by Mr. Kurian Gonsalves, who's joined us on this broadcast. Mr. Gonsalves, what do you make of this letter that has just been released? Here, the Supreme Court judges, 4 of the senior-most judges are raising some very pertinent points here, where they're saying that the rostering is the charge of the Chief Justice of India, and they say the precedents of convention that have to be followed while rostering by the Chief Justice have not been followed. Now, this is a charge that they've leveled against him in terms of the assignment of the cases.
Well, I applaud the 4 judges. I applaud the 4 judges for doing what they have done. And I think it is a very important step towards preserving the independence of the judiciary from interference by the executive. There has been a noticeable increase and sharpness in the intervention by the executive and interference with the judiciary. And I'm very proud of these 4 judges for standing up for independence of the judiciary. I also want to clarify, because there have been some talks of the collegium system and all that, that as things are presently, and given the options of the executive interfering with judicial independence, I fully support the collegium system, and I fully support these 4 judges in doing what they did. As senior-most judges, they have taken a most dynamic step to preserving the independence of the Indian judiciary.
And also, Mr. Gonsalves, if I could just probe this a bit further, they've said the assignment of cases is one of the key issues that they wish to highlight. Do you think there are certain cases which have perhaps been given to certain judges only because of their political affiliations?
Look, I just want to say this much, that there has been in the public domain for quite some time serious apprehensions by considerable sections of lawyers that the assignment of matters is not being done properly. It's a serious concern, and it is a duty of the top judiciary that when these kind of concerns circulate widely and for such a long period of time, that they should be addressed. And unfortunately, they have not been addressed. Apart from saying that it is a Chief Justice's prerogative, which indeed it is, apart from saying that, I think the real issues have never been addressed. Because the real issue is that even that prerogative of the Chief Justice should be exercised in a cautious, careful and rational manner.
Mr. Kurian Gonsalves, do continue to stay on with us. We also have Abha Singh, who is still with us on the broadcast. Meanwhile, I'm told that we are also being joined in by Mr. Majid Memon on this broadcast. Mr. Memon, what do you read of this? The highest judges of the country, they've not gone into the specifics of the case. When they were asked, was it pertaining to the Loya case, they just answered in the affirmative, but did not go into the details of it. Even in the letter, it's not very clear as to which case they are referring to. What do you think has brought these 4 judges in this open revolt?
What has happened today has shaken the entire judicial system of the country. And I think this is unprecedented in the sense that right from the coming into force of the Constitution of India way back in 1950, we never have a precedent where sitting Supreme Court judges would rush and out of people of this country through media and then spell out their grievances and pointing out the shortcomings or deficiencies in the system of dispensation of justice. It's a matter of great concern, and I am not as a lawyer, but also as a member of parliament myself. I feel ashamed that what is being happening and what is cooking inside the highest court of the land, which is considered as the most integral part of Indian democracy. And I'm afraid that what has happened today is that in open, the learned senior-most 4 judges of Supreme Court have in fact talked about impeachment of Chief Justice of India. It's a great disgrace, dishonor, and matter of deep regret for all of us.
Right. Abha Singh, if I could come to you on this, judiciary perhaps is the only organization in India which is very well respected, considering the kind of reputation which the executive and also the political executive has got. But what do you think must have driven the senior-most judges to come out and talk to the people of India via media? Is this something which speaks of deep anguish, where they feel that any grievances that they may have had are not being addressed internally, if there were to be a mechanism that is set in place to address their grievances here?
This only one word: corruption. Corruption, be it money or it political corruption. These are the two things. Big packets are being exchanged and political interference. Whatever comes from big politicians, that is what the Chief Justice or other people are following. And that is the anguish of these 4 honest judges. I think the Chief Justice of India should resign if he has any shame left, because never in the history of judiciary 4 sitting judges of the Supreme Court have come forward and said that we are upset, there is anguish, there is corruption, and this Chief Justice should step down. In fact, if he doesn't step down, Parliament must impeach him. And if this government is protecting this Chief Justice of India, I would request all the opposition parties to come together and save this country, save the judiciary, which is under the clutches of corruption. And just because there is a contempt of court, you cannot hold the country to close its mouth, shut up. And that is what India has been doing. The activists are harassed. They penalize activists, they fine activists, and they say you are extortionists. They don't want to support the honest people. There are touts around courts. There are children of judges who are acting lawyers and who are the mediators. These children of these sitting judges are the ones who take money and get judgment done. You see how Salman Khan was given a clean sheet. The judge was retiring on Friday. On Wednesday, he dismissed the case on loopholes, on technicalities, technical loopholes. Even today, we don't. Neither the driver nor the Salman Khan was arrested, and people like us have to just shed unwept tears because we don't know where to go. And Salman Khan's case is the biggest example that a retiring judge who retired on Friday gave him a clean sheet on Wednesday, and on what ground? That the police did not do the investigation. You mean to say a person dies on the pavement and you will leave the person scot-free because of the police goof up? No, because big packets of money exchanges hands. And today this press conference is only because of the increasing corruption. Corruption is both ways, be it money, be it political interference, and both the judges are allowing. The Chief Justice of India needs to be removed. Impeachment must be done, because never before has any Chief Justice of India been spoken about, talked about by judges till now like this.
Ma'am, you stay with me. Ma'am, you stay with me. We have also got the letter, and I'll be reading the letter out too, but I'm also joined by senior lawyer Kamini Jaiswal. Madam, for your first impression on this letter which has been written by the judges, I think we have lost her, but this is the letter which we have got, and let me read this letter to you. And the meat of the story lies in the letter, and we are not going to overinterpret, underinterpret, or take any meaning out of the letter. The letter is out there. It says it is with great anguish and concern that we have thought it is proper to address letter to you to highlight certain issues. Now, they go on to say, from the date of the establishment of the 3 Chartered High Courts of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras, certain traditions and conventions in the judicial administration have been well established. The traditions were embraced by the court, which came into existence almost a century after the above mentioned high courts. These traditions have their roots in the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence and justice. Then it goes on to say one of the well-settled principle is that the Chief Justice is the master of the roster with a privilege to determine the roster. Necessity in multi-numbered courts for an orderly transaction of business and appropriate arrangements with respect to matter with which member of the bench of this court is required to deal with which case or class of cases to be made. The convention recognizing the privilege of the Chief Justice to form the roster and assign case to different members of the court is a convention devised for a disciplined and efficient transaction of business of the court, but not a recognition of any superior authority, legal or factual, of the Chief Justice over his colleagues. It is too well settled in the jurisprudence that this country that the Chief Justice is only the first amongst the equal, nothing more or nothing less. In the matter of determination of the roster, there are well settled time-honored convention guiding the Chief Justice, be the convention dealing with the strength of the bench which is required to deal with a particular case or the composition therefore. So the 2 points, strength of the bench and the composition, is something which the Chief Justice does but not as a superior. But the first amongst the lot. A necessary corollary to the above mentioned principle is the member of any multi-number judicial body including the court would not arrogate to themselves the authority to deal with and pronounce upon matters which ought to be heard by appropriate benches, both composition-wise and strength-wise, with due regard to the roster fixed. Any departure from the above two rules would not only lead to unpleasant and undesirable consequences of creating doubt in the body politic about the integrity of the institution, not to talk about the chaos that would result from the departure. Abha Singh is with me, madam, very clearly. The strength and the composition of the bench being made by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is the issue which was raised by the four members. Madam, my question to you is that the judges have actually raised the issue of the composition and the strength of the benches. Can you please elaborate for our viewers? Madam, can you hear me? I think we have lost Abha Singh, but then again, I'll go on with the letter because the letter very clearly says, and again the important part is, so the letter is, we are sorry to say that of late the twin rule mentioned above have not been strictly adhered to. So the charge is that the rules or the norms have not been adhered to. There have been instances where case having far-reaching consequence for the nation, an institution has been assigned by the Chief Justice of this court selectively to the discussions. Selectively. Now the charge is very, very serious. The cases are being selectively assigned. So the page 4 of the letter says that Chief Justice of India, and these are the charge, that cases are being selectively assigned. The charge is that the strength of the bench is being decided in a very arbitrary way. The charge is that the composition too is being decided in a very arbitrary way. And they go on to say in the last line that it has been selectively done. And this letter was written to the Chief Justice of India some months back. Then again they had a meeting, and as a news is breaking in, we have been given to believe that Chief Justice of India will be meeting the Attorney General of the country at 1:30 p.m. to take a legal opinion on this issue. And let's cut across to some of the reactions which are coming in.
But sometimes The administration.
That would be better, sir. One copy.
Just give me one.
4 judges against Dipak Misra, the Chief Justice. Such a question you have asked me. Well, there are 20 others who are not against him. So what is it? It's a majority. Do you rule by majority in the Supreme Court? If this is what you people are asking me, I think such questions have arisen only because of this immaturity.
Sir, what you say about this whole thing? Because you was a judge and you saw each and everything in your own record.
I think all 4 should be impeached. And they should be set out. They should be sent home. They've got no place now to give judicial decisions when you start this trade union system over there. You should be sent home.
इतिहास में पहली बार 4 जजेस, सिटिंग जजेस एक साथ प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए आए हैं और कह रहे हैं कि डेमोक्रेसी जो है वो खतरे में, लोकतंत्र खतरे में।
ये 4 जजेस, पहली बात ये है कि मुझे तो बहुत शर्म आ रही है टेलीविज़न पर मैंने ये कहते हुए कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट में क्या ये जूतियों में दाल बट रही है। ये बहुत मुझे शर्म आ रही है ये कहते हुए। ये देखिए, डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में है, ये इनको ये ऐसी वैसी बातें करनी कोई शोभा नहीं देती। डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में कैसे है? हमारे पार्लियामेंट चल रहा है, हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर अपॉइंटमेंट हुई है, जजेस हमारे हैं, हाई कोर्ट्स चल रही हैं, कोर्ट्स लोअर कोर्ट्स चल रही हैं, पुलिस सिस्टम चल रहा है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर चल रहा है। ये डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में कैसे आ गई? सिर्फ इन 4 की वजह से खतरे में आ गई डेमोक्रेसी। और ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस का मतलब ही क्या है भाई? आपका काम है जजमेंट देना। आपको लगता है डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में है तो आप जुडिशल फाइंडिंग दे दो किसी जो गलत हो रहा है। तो इस पे क्या बात है? बच्चे ये तो बचपना बिल्कुल हो गया। ये मैच्योरिटी कहाँ गई इनकी?
सर, प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के क्योंकि एक पत्र लिखा गया है सीजे को भी, उसमें जो अपनी इनकी समस्या है उन तमाम बातों से अवगत कराया गया है, लेकिन साथ ही साथ ये कहा गया कि अगर नहीं अभी बोलते तो आने वाला समय कहेगा कि हम लोगों ने आत्मा बेच दी।
देखिए, बात ऐसे होती है कि आने वाला समय क्या कहेगा वो आज वो भी आप इनको पता चल जाएगा। आप आने वाला समय क्या कहेगा ये हर एक कोई सोचता है कि ये दूध का धुला हुआ है और दूसरा जो है वो खराब है। अरे भाई, वो आपके पहले बन गया चीफ जस्टिस, आप नहीं बन सके। आपने भी खूब एड़ियां रगड़ी, नहीं हो सका। तो इसमें इतनी बड़ा बवाल उठाने की क्या बात है? अगर आपको कोई चीज़ नहीं अच्छी लगी और आपने चिट्ठी लिखी, ये ज़रूरी तो नहीं कि जो आप कहें वो चीज़ मानी जाए। एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव हेड है, वो चीफ जस्टिस है, उसकी ड्यूटी है और उसने करना जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। आपने तो नहीं करना, आप तो जज हो, आप अपना काम करो। आपने क्या लेना देना एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से?
सर, जब जस्टिस BH लोया के केस के बारे में पूछा गया तो उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि असाइनमेंट ऑफ केसेस का कोई इशू भी रेज किया। देखिए
जी, असाइनमेंट ऑफ इशू, ये केसेस ये कोई नई बात नहीं है। पहले होता था कि चीफ जस्टिस एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव हेड है और वही असाइन करता है केसेस किसको जाएंगे, कैसे केसेस जाएंगे, और वो बेंच पे फॉर्मुलेट वही करता है। ऐसे
जज मस्ट ऑलवेज बी अबव सस्पिशन, लाइक सीजर्स वाइफ, एंड the judge must not, the concerned person against whom there is an iota of suspicion should not deal with it, the matter either administratively or judicially. So this is, if there was a matter before one bench, I personally believe that it should have been allowed to go ahead. Why remove that from that bench?
You know, getting into the letter, getting back to the letter, it goes on, the letter states that there has been instances where cases have far-reaching consequences for the nation. The institution had been assigned by the Chief Justice of this court selectively to the benches of their preference, without any rational basis for assignment. This must be guarded against all cost, which means that the judges have accused the Chief Justice of arbitrarily constituting the benches and shifting the cases to different benches. Now they are saying that which is partisan view. And the letter says we are not mentioning details only to avoid embarrassing the institution, but note, such departures have already damaged the image of this institution. In the above context, we deem proper to address you presently with regard to order dated 27th October, RP Luthra versus Union of India, to the effect that there should be no further delay in finalizing the memorandum procedure in the larger public interest. When the memorandum of procedure was subject matter of decision of Constitution Bench of this court in Supreme Court, Advocate on Record Association versus Union of India, it is difficult to understand as to how any other bench could have heard the matter. Then the judges go on to write, the above part subsequent to the decision of the Constitution Bench detailed discussion were held by the collegium of 5 judges, including yourself, and the memorandum of procedure was finalized and sent by then to the Honorable Chief Justice of India to the Government of India in March 2017. The Government of India has not responded to the communication. In the view of this silence, it must be taken that memorandum of procedure as finalized by the collegium has been accepted by the Government of India on the basis of the order of the court. There was therefore no occasion for the bench to make any observation with regard to the finalization of the memorandum procedure. And it goes on to say that on 4th July, a bench of 7 judges of this court decided. In that decision, 2 of us observed that there is a need to revisit the process of appointment of judges and to set up a mechanism for corrective measure other than impeachment. No observation was made by any of the 7 learned judges with regard to this memorandum procedure. Any issue with regard to the memorandum procedure should be discussed in this Chief Justice Conference and by full court. Such a matter of grave importance, if all required to be taken on the judicial side, should be dealt with by none other than a Constitution Bench. The above development must be viewed with serious concern. The Honourable Chief Justice of India is duty-bound to rectify the situation and take appropriate remedial measures after full discussion with other members of the collegium. So basically, the judges have accused the Chief Justice of India of bias, of conduct, composition of benches. Now these are serious charges. A lot of lawyers will have different opinion, different views on this. A lot of judges will say that, well, out of many other judges, only 4 had this view. I'm also joined by Gopal Shankar Narayan, Senior Advocate from Supreme Court. Sir, your first comment on the press conference which has been done by the 4 judges of the Supreme Court.
Well, we are still stuck in a bit of a quandary because we don't know what exactly has been stated outside of the letter, because the letter doesn't go into specifics. So we are unsure of what are the specific instances which were needed to be highlighted. But there are these concerns which have been raised, and considering that they are from the 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, they have to be taken very, very seriously and addressed at the earliest, hopefully by the Chief Justice.
Sir, but the fact is that not only these judges are talking about the composition and the strength of the benches, they just go on to say that, benches,
yes,
of their preference without any rational or basis are being assigned. Basically what they're trying to say is that, and I'll read this, and I'll make this verbatim, sir, and I'll make this verbatim.
No, I've read the letter.
You read the letter that the courts, Chief Justice of the court selectively to the benches of their preferences. Can you please elaborate on that, sir?
Normally what happens is once a bench of particular judges are hearing a particular case, it will follow at least one of the judges on that bench whenever it's listed thereafter. All right? Now, what has been happening, which is what they're protesting, is that suddenly a matter which is heard by one bench is heard by a completely different constitution of judges. And they feel that this is a violation of the convention, and that is why they have protested.
But sir, then they have also gone on to a number of other cases, and they are saying that and they are also saying that he is first among equal. He is not superior. You know, the letter has gone into all those details for the benefit of our viewers who do not understand the nitty-gritties of the high law. Can you please elaborate for them, sir?
The Supreme Court normally will have a strength of 30 judges plus the Chief Justice. Now, the person who is appointed earliest among them to the Chief Justice, to the Supreme Court, will eventually become Chief Justice of India. Now, what happens is that the Chief Justice is the senior-most judge in the Supreme Court, and by virtue of holding that office, he is also the administrative head of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Now, as administrative head of the Supreme Court, he will discharge certain obligations he has. When he is away, somebody else will be put in his place who will discharge this administrative duty. That includes of which bench will hear what types of matters. That's the distribution of roster. Criminal cases may go to courts 3 and 5. Civil cases may go to 7 and 12. Like that, it will be divided. Now, he will also be in charge of urgent listing of cases. Eventually, he is the final authority on listing of cases, or moving cases from one bench to another. In all of that, he is the final authority. This does not mean that he is in any way superior to the other judges. It only means that by virtue of holding the office of Chief Justice, he will discharge this administrative obligation as well.
So, just bear with me for a minute. You know, a couple of reactions coming. Dr. Subramanian Swami addressing the press.
पक्ष के जो सोशल स्थिति है एन रहे उनको एलिवेट किया, उसमें 5 जजेस ने इस्तीफा देकर बाहर निकल गए. तो उसके बाद किसी को हिम्मत नहीं हुई, किसी सरकार को हिम्मत नहीं हुई कि ये जो सीनियर मोस्ट जज को बनाने के नियम को तोड़ें. वैसे ही आज मुख्य जो विवाद है वो इस बात पर है कि केसेस कैसे अलॉट होनी चाहिए और जजेस कैसे बननी चाहिए. इस मामले में उन्होंने बहुत प्रयास की, परंतु ये चारों जजेस जो आए हैं वो तो निश्चित तौर पर इसीलिए आए हैं कि उनके वेदना जो है वो इतनी अधिक हो गई है कि उन्होंने सोचा कि जब चीफ जस्टिस नहीं सुन रहे हैं और हमें लगता है कि ये बहुत आवश्यक है, तो ये चारों जजेस की मेरी जो राय है उनके बारे है सबसे उच्च कोटि में है कि ये बुद्धिजीवी हैं, ये ज्ञानी हैं, ये अपने के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं. और तो इसीलिए जब उन्होंने ऐसी बात प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस बुला के कह दिए तो इस पर समाधान निकालनी चाहिए. और क्योंकि चीफ जस्टिस और इनके बीच में कुछ सुलह नहीं हो सकी आपस में बैठकर, तो मैं समझता हूँ कि आज एक ही बाकी है, वो प्रधानमंत्री वो अपनी सेवा का प्रस्तुत करें. Well, I think this is a event in which we cannot criticize the judges for coming on the press conference. They are men of great integrity, great scholarship, and they have sacrificed a lot of their legal career where they could have made money hand over fist as senior counsels, and therefore we should respect them. We should not, try to find some silly reason, which sometimes happens in our public life. They have taken a big leap, which judges never do, just to address a press conference. But they have raised issues, and these issues they could not by direct talks set it right. They think it's very important for the country. So therefore I think this has to be resolved, and the Prime Minister should, as head of the government and head of the governance of the country, must ensure that the two judges, the 4 judges and the Chief Justice, and in fact the whole Supreme Court come to one opinion on how to proceed further.
Subramanian Swami, sitting member of Rajya Sabha, advocate, I think making it very, very clear that the judges cannot be criticized. Now, issue is what will the Chief Justice of India do, because Chief Justice of India is going to have a meeting with the Attorney General, the topmost law officer of this country. Now, there are a number of things which can happen. You know, there are a number of things which can happen because Chief Justice has its own power. But in this case, the sort of issues which the judges have raised and the conduct of the Chief Justice of India, what he does after it, will define the way judiciary will function. You know, whether he will choose to talk to them, whether he'll ask them to come to meet him again, whether there'll be any other action. You know, it all entirely depends on him. There were a lot of lawyers who had the view that, you know, somehow space has to be created, but these are all conjunctures. We will keep ourselves out of it. Let's dip into some other reactions coming in.
Most judges, they have discharged their duty to the nation by letting the country know that the Chief Justice has been abusing and misusing his administrative power as master of roster to assign cases to particular benches, etc., to junior judges to achieve a predetermined outcome. As they have pointed out,
Any nation, and more particularly this nation, an extraordinary event.
India. Mr. Lekhi, thank you for making time for WION. So how do you see this unprecedented situation unfolding in the annals of judiciary today with the press conference?
Well, it highlights the rot in the higher echelons of the judiciary. These 4 senior judges who are not known to be sensational have taken this extreme step. And since judges are not used to addressing the media and press conferences, there was a certain clumsiness in the way they went about it. Because I think when they started the press conference, the precise grievances in the letter should have been highlighted straight away. But nevertheless, the point is that the judges have highlighted the fact that assignment of benches has been done on the basis of a kind of a pick and choose by the Chief Justice without any rational principle, and this can shake public confidence. The other aspect which they have highlighted is that matters with regard to the memorandum of procedure should have been handled only by the bench which dealt with the collegium issue versus the NJAC issue. So I think the judges, the senior-most judges, have shown their anguish at the way the top institution headed by the Chief Justice is functioning. And I think this is the highest which sitting judges can do. They couldn't have perhaps been more specific than this. And this is something which calls for deep introspection. I think the judges, the 4 senior-most judges, have rendered a great public service.
Mr. Lekhi, I have my question to you is, does it become untenable for Chief Justice of India? Because ultimately the Chief Justice of India is, like says his wife, above suspicion. That's one. And my second question, sir, to you is, what are the, where does the judiciary go from here on?
Well, as far as untenability is concerned, while it is definitely embarrassing for the Chief Justice that the dissent by 4 of his senior-most colleagues has come out in the public, I don't think the situation is beyond redemption or retrieval. This could serve an important purpose of ensuring more collegiate functioning among the judges. and to ensure that matters of vital importance are handled by senior judges of the court on the basis of some discernible principle. So I don't think the situation is beyond repair.
So you're saying the situation is not beyond repair. But sir, the accusation of the composition of benches, the strength of the benches, a case being sent to certain benches, those are serious charges, sir?
Of course they are. Of course they are. But now that these charges are in the public domain, correctives can be applied from within the system. Now that 4 judges have highlighted this grievance, it is something which will now be discussed by all the judges of the court, by the collectivity of judges, and all of them will be in a position to make their views known to the Chief Justice. And so, therefore, while this may have a kind of a chastening effect on the Chief Justice, it still doesn't mean that the Chief Justice can't function.
Okay. Basically, you're saying that despite this, the Chief Judge, we have been given to believe, sir, that the Chief Justice of India is going to hold a special hearing at 2 p.m. You know, it's not as if the, the story has ended. He is going to go in for a special hearing. What do you expect him to do?
I have no information about what's going to happen and whether the special hearing is going to be about this. Let's see. I'll reserve my comment till such a thing happens.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for making time for us. So, Mr. Lekhi making very, very clear that it's not as if the position is beyond redemption. Mr. Lekhi clearly goes on to say that the position can be retrieved. Situation can be retrieved, and there can be a consensus on certain issues. But now the larger question is, what will the Chief Justice of India do? Prime Minister has already spoken with the Law Minister. What will the executive do? Because the charges are very, very serious in nature. And what will happen to the 4 judges? Because judges have spoken against the top boss, which is the Chief Justice of India. And it is in between the story lies. And this has happened for the first time in independent India. In our history, of modern Indian history, for the first time, 4 senior judges of the Supreme Court have spoken against the Chief Justice of India. And let's now listen to some of the reactions which have come in.
Judge must always be above suspicion, like Caesar's wife. And the judge must not, the concerned person against whom there is an iota of suspicion, should not deal with it, the matter either administratively or judicially. So this is, if there was a matter before one bench, I personally believe that it should have been allowed to go ahead. Why remove that from that bench?
That this is a sad day for our judicial system. It is a sad day for India's democracy. It is a sad day for everything that we have held dear. This press conference will strike at the root of institutional integrity of the higher judiciary. It has raised question marks about the credibility of the system as such, and has directly cast aspersions on the head of the Indian judiciary, namely the Chief Justice of India.
Yes, I have written letters to my colleague judges of do's and don'ts on various things, but no one went to the press. But this is appalling. How can you administer the Supreme Court by press conferences? And all right, what will this press conference do? Are you going to hold a referendum? Are you going to ask the people now to say who is right and who is wrong? I mean, this is absolutely appalling. What is going on?
And now I'm also being joined by Justice Santosh Hegde. Sir, thank you for making time for WION. So your first impression of the press conference and the charges being made by senior judges that about the composition of the benches, the strength of the benches, and cases being arbitrarily transferred to certain benches, sir? Sir, can you hear me? Mr. Hegde, can you hear me?
I don't know.
I think there's a bit of a problem with the phone line. We'll try to reconnect with Justice Hegde, a very renowned face. And a lot of lawyers are saying that issue can be redeemed. But it ultimately depends the position which the Chief Justice of India will take. It ultimately will depend the position the executive will take, and ultimately it will depend on what the special hearing, which begins at 2 p.m, does. So the charges have been made against the Chief Justice of India. Prime Minister has spoken with the Law Minister. Law Minister will have a lot of work to do in terms of consulting other legal heads of the government. Chief Justice will have its hearing at 2 p.m. and then there will be a clearer picture as to what will be the face and what will be the position when it comes to the apex court. So it's a moving story, it's the topmost Indian story, it's an unprecedented Indian story. It's an Indian story which is unfolding for the first time, where the judges have spoken, gone against the Chief Justice of India itself. It's a story about the benches, it's a story about cases, it's a story about issues which were there, which were talked about in hushed tones, but today have become public. It's a story which concerns every Indian, because judiciary is one institution which balances executive, legislature and the others on which the democracy rests. The letter, it just goes on to say that the judges met him, judges apprised him of their concern. They met him today morning. I think Chief Justice of India was informed that they might have to go public on this, and the judges went public on this issue. And this is a case which concerns each and every Indian. It's the topmost Indian story. We'll be tracking it through the day. It's a story about 4 judges doing a press conference on the issues related with judiciary, issues related with judicial appointment, issues related with... And let's cut across to Salman Khurshid, former Law Minister.
That should lead to a complete breakdown of communication between people of highest caliber who man our Supreme Court. I hope that somehow some communication links will remain established and the court will return to its normal functioning.
Sir, he has also mentioned that let the nation decide. What do you have to...
Well, this is ultimately, in a democracy, the nation decides everything. But ultimately, it will have to be decided by the court itself, and I hope that it's possible, it will be done. All of us who are associated with this court should do whatever is in our capacity to encourage conversation that will bring this stress to an end.
Sir, any further action that you will be following after this?
Well, there are lots of questions being raised. Some of our senior lawyers have decided we'll meet at 5 o'clock this afternoon at Mr. Kapil Sibal's house. And then if there are more information available or there's something else that we need to reflect upon, we will then let the world know our mind.
So, last question. What do you have to...
Well, that seems to be the major concern, a major reason why this ostensible disquiet has been expressed. In the past, this issue used to arise about people doing forum shopping, bench shopping, etc.
And I'm also joined by Mr. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, senior lawyer. Mr. Mir, my question to you is, Can this situation be redeemed? Can this situation be salvaged after what has happened today, sir?
Yes. Well, certainly the situation can certainly be redeemed, and at the end of the day, what we must understand that the honorable judges of the highest court of the land are also human beings, and if there is some kind of a disconnect, that can always be resolved. However, all of us belonging to the legal community, we have an obligation towards each and every citizen of this country, and to that extent, I think the best thing forward is for the honorable judges to sit down and to iron out the differences so that, the people of India and each and every commoner who looks to the apex court as the highest court of the land, a court of savior, does not lose confidence in the institution of judiciary, which is so essential for any democracy, and as complex as a democracy that we are. So I can understand that that today is definitely an unfortunate day. I wish, as a lawyer myself, that the honorable judges, instead of coming out in open, could have sorted out their differences. But there's no damage that cannot be rectified, and we as legal community stand one on this issue, and we'll do everything within our capabilities to see to it that these issues are resolved, so that the people at large do not lose their confidence on the legal machinery, the institution of judiciary, and the highest court of the land.
Thank you, Mr. Mir, for talking to WION on this issue. Now let's listen in to what the 4 judges had to say for the benefit of the viewers who have just joined us now.
अरे पीछे आ जाओ यार, थोड़ा पीछे आ जाओ। फटाफट सर, एक मैडम जगह भाग गया भाई, पकड़ा देना, आगे पकड़ा देना, नहीं रखना है। प्लीज कीप साइलेंस। एक सेकंड नीचे कर। अरे साइड में हो जाओ यार। अरे हट जा। अरे इस भाई को मैं जाएगा तो अरे हट जा भाई, जल्दी हट जा। अबे हट जाना यार। चलो अरे मैडम कौन है ये? कौन है भाई ये? यार एक सेकंड, अरविंद फोन आ रहा है यार। अरे हट भी जाओ अब। क्या हो यार तुम, पागल है क्या?
PCR.
Friends, all of you know this is an extraordinary event.
Sir, please little louder.
It's an extraordinary event in the history of any nation, and more particularly this nation, and an extraordinary event in the history of this institution of judiciary. It is with no pleasure in our hearts we were compelled to take this decision to call for a press conference. But sometimes the administration of the Supreme Court is not in order. Let the nation decide. We are nobody's to decide it.
Sir, may I ask you a question, please? Do you believe that there is interference by the executive? It's a critical question. If the institution has to survive, then we need no interference from the executive. Is there any interference? Please let us know if there is any interference from the executive with the judiciary.
I think
I need an answer to this question.
Yes.
You don't need answers. I do.
I think whatever.
Guys, relax.
I think whatever Justice Chelameswar Chelameswar has told you is the whole of it. It's a discharge of a debt to the nation that has brought us here, and we think that we have discharged a debt to the nation by telling you what is what. More is there in the letter. Beyond this, I don't think there is any other issue we need to address.
How is the cause taken forward? That's
Sir, one small thing.
Where is the letter?
I'll just get it in a minute.
No,
just can you, sir? Verma?
So, there is a small practical problem, sir. Sir, there is a small practical problem. Right now, nation is watching you. And if the Xerox and everything, photocopying takes time, it would be further speculation. So you have said one of the issue was Judge Loya's death. If you could spell out other issues. Manish, I'm asking a question. Don't listen.
One copy is good.
Yeah. Verma?
Oh, it's in my car.
It's brother's car.
It's in my car.
That would be better, sir. One copy.
Just give me 1 minute. We are getting that. Just give us one.
Sir, one question. That 4 judges, senior most judges of the Supreme Court coming together, organizing a press conference. It is seen as 4 judges breaking the ranks. Do you think that from here on, the administration of the Supreme Court would go on in a routine and in a harmonious manner?
Yeah, why? Nobody's breaking ranks. Nobody's breaking ranks. Nobody.
Sir, what do you think is the remedy now?
Sir, and are you speaking for the rest of the court as well? 4 of you here.
We are speaking for ourselves. We are not consulted. Since we 4 are in the first senior most 4, we discussed. Since we 4 went in the morning, we are speaking for ourselves. We didn't discuss it with anybody else.
Sir, is this a kind of no confidence against the Chief Justice?
Sir, don't put words into
I'm just asking, since you people have come out and...
Sir, what are the issues you are seeking redressal for, sir?
Okay, we'll make copies in 2 minutes.
Ma'am.
Just 2 minutes we can make it. I'll just read one or two.
Just say this is the letter. You will get copy. Give me that this copy because they are only
Now, my dear friends, we have 1 copy of the letter. We need to take copies of it. Just wait for 10 minutes. We'll give copies to.
Could you read out pictures? Sir, can you just read the letter?
Just give us 10 minutes. You'll get
copies here.
In the meeting, could you read out a few points from the letter?
Copies have to be made in the meantime. How will we get started?
You make copies and I sell it for this you because this is the only.
Just be careful.
I think that's about it.
So
now,
issues. What will you do now? So what is the next step? What is the next step?
Tomorrow is Saturday and day after tomorrow is Sunday. Monday we'll go to the court and decide cases. Sorry?
Is it about the composition of the constitution benches also? Senior judges are not included. That is one of the grievances.
You read the letter, you will get answers to all these questions.
So just can we construe this, 1 as a sign of protest and 2 now what is expected of the chief?
Well, that's what we failed.
It is not. You may construe it as a sign of our responsibility to the nation and nothing more. I think we have answered all and we have made ourselves very clear. There is
not only about
Sir, according to you, what are the remedies now? Do you want the Chief Justice to be impeached?
Sir, we are not saying anything. Let the nation decide. We are nobody's to decide it.
Sir, may I ask you a question, please? Do you believe
So you've seen that this has created a cascading effect. We are being told that there might be a press conference. There might be a press conference by the Chief Justice of India. He might clear his stand, and he will be assisted by the Attorney General of India. But one has to wait and see what happens. One has to wait and see what will happen, because ultimately this is one story which will define the way judiciary functions. Why has it happened? Why have the judges come out? What was the compulsion for them to take up this matter? What will be the impact of this controversy on the functioning of judiciary? Everything will play out at its own pace. But right now, what it has done is that it has completely taken the legal community, the political community by surprise. And when I say the word surprise, they have been completely taken up by surprise. They will have to wait and see what the Chief Justice of India does, because it has raised many, many questions, and ultimately Chief Justice of India will have to take a call. So the judges have expressed concern, anguish, highlights certain judicial orders. They say that the orders, no detail to avoid embarrassing judiciary, Chief Justice assigns cases selectively, Chief Justice is only first among equals. So that has been a very, very important, I would say, serious charge, that selective assignment of the cases. Now this is something which was, which is unprecedented on part of anyone to say for the Chief Justice of India, that he is being assigning cases in a very arbitrary way, in a very selective way. So I think that's the problematic part. And we have been given to believe that the CJI, the Chief Justice of India, will address the media shortly. He will be accompanied by Attorney General at the press meet, and Dipak Misra is going to speak. And this goes on to show that there is a split in Supreme Court of India, that the topmost judges have not been able to reconcile certain differences. The topmost judges have not been able to sit together and decide what should be done, what should be the course of action when it comes to judiciary. So, you know, these are the pressing issues. And I think these are the issues which are going to redefine the way judiciary functions. And I think it's a very, very serious matter, what has happened in the country today. Let's dip into some reactions.
It is the most unfortunate and saddest day, not only for Indian judiciary, but for Indian democracy. Even under Contempt of Court Act, truth is not supposed to be a valid defense. And even if there are certain differences in opinions among themselves, but those could have been sorted out by a different way rather than by holding a public press conference. And I personally feel that it should not set up as a precedent for the lower judiciary.
चारों जजेस की मेरी जो राय है उनके बारे है सबसे उच्च कोटि में है कि ये बुद्धिजीवी हैं, ये ज्ञानी हैं, ये अपने के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं। और तो इसीलिए जब उन्होंने ऐसी बात प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस बुला के कह दिए तो इस पर समाधान निकालनी चाहिए। और क्योंकि चीफ जस्टिस और इनके बीच में कुछ सुलह नहीं हो सकी आपस में बैठकर, तो मैं समझता हूं कि आज एक ही बाकी है और प्रधानमंत्री वो अपनी सेवा का प्रस्तुत करें।
So, in a short, I would say, very shortly, the Chief Justice of India is going to hold a press conference. He's going to explain his position. Attorney General of India is going to be there. AG to be there, to be seen there, to be there is a very, very important decision. It all depends how the government is extending its support to the Chief Justice of India. It also goes on to show. That there are serious issues on which the divisions exist within the judiciary. We have also been given to believe that senior lawyers of the Supreme Court of India are going to have a meeting at the residence of Kapil Sibal. Another senior advocate at Supreme Court, former law minister, former HRD minister, and he is going to hold a meeting. He's going to hold a meeting with other senior lawyers to decide the course of action. That meeting is going to take place at Kapil Sibal's residence. So everyone has been taken by surprise. Everyone has become active. This is a case which has run away with everyone's imagination. So we will be keeping a close tab on this story. We will be breaking every part of it. This is the letter which they wrote, and it is on this letter the whole standoff has taken place between the Chief Justice of India and the 4 judges who chose to address the press conference today afternoon. And this development will have tremendous impact on the way the judiciary will function, whether it will herald reforms, whether it's going to herald punitive action. One will have to wait and see. So this is all in this edition of WION.